guys, welcome back to my channel, and in case you're new here, hi, my name's Dida and welcome to this little space I like to call Dida's Corner. So as you guys can see from the title, I wanted to come here and show you guys my tips for a fresh, dewy, glowy, flawless base routine. So I wanted to show you guys what I do to achieve a flawless base. Let's start with tip number 1, which is extremely important and very vital to a flawless base routine: skincare. It cannot be reiterated enough, guys. Your skincare is very important to have a flawless base. We need to be realistic here. Like, if you want a flawless base, and you've also got to have flawless skin. If you have a few issues, like for me, one of the few issues that I tend to have, since I have dry skin, if I don't take care of my skin, then I tend to have very flaky skin. Now, if you suffer from dry skin, you know that flaky skin is the worst culprit in terms of not getting a flawless base. So skincare is very important. You want to really take care of your skin to make sure that it is flawless, so that then your makeup sits flawlessly on top of your skin. So I have a very extra skincare routine, and I did film a video and posted it some time back. So I'm going to link that down in the description box below if you're interested in checking it out, because I don't want to go into too much detail with skincare, but that is definitely very vital to a flawless base. Tip number 2 is shaving your face. Now, once again, I have done a video on this. I will also link that in the description box below, so check it out. Once again, I don't want to go into too much detail, but basically what I've noticed is that I do have a hairy face, which you will see in that video. So when your face is hairy and you put your foundation on and then you set it, the hairs do tend to peek through, and I've noticed that when I get a bit hairy, it makes my foundation crack throughout the day, so it doesn't look too good. So again, I've found that shaving my face has helped my foundation sit flawlessly on my skin. So if you're interested in checking that out, maybe that's one of the issues that you're having, so check it out. Definitely recommend shaving your face, and it has so many benefits to it. I mentioned that in the video below. Not just having your foundation look good, it also exfoliates your skin, so I highly recommend it. Tip number 3 is prepping your skin. That is so important, guys. Now, when it comes to prepping the skin, you need to understand your skin type. So for me, I know that I've got a very dry skin. So for dry skin, that means I need to really hydrate my face before going into my base, my foundation. So if I've hydrated my skin and really moisturized it, then the foundation just sits a lot better on my skin, because when I put it directly on, it starts to look a lot cakey throughout the day, and that's just not a good look. So you really want to hydrate your skin before you go into your foundation. And I also suggest this for oily skin people. Now, when I say hydrate and moisturize and blah blah, I don't mean like go in with oils and things like that for people with oily skin, but just really quench your skin and make it nice and hydrated before going into your foundation. Like I said, you really need to understand your skin. Now, for people with oily skin, you will notice that people with oily skin tend to have large pores as well. So to have a flawless base, you also need to fill in your pores. Now, if you've got dry skin, you tend to not have large pores just because of how tight your skin is. So pores on dry skin aren't really an issue. Like, I know for myself, pores are not an issue, so I don't need a pore filling primer. But if you do have large pores, then also go into a pore filling primer, but make sure you target that primer. Target it in the areas where especially you get large pores. So you'll notice that that's especially around the nose area, this cheek area, basically the T-zone. So you just want to focus the pore filling primers in that area. And then also notice, like, especially for people with combination skin, you may want to multi-prime. So if you notice that in your T-zone you get really oily, then use a sort of mattifying primer. So just use those mattifying stroke pore filling primers in your T-zone, and then use a hydrating primer on the rest of your face. So yeah, those are the main tips when it comes to the skin, which are very vital. So for my skin prep, I tend to use a hydrating serum and then my moisturizer before makeup. So that's what we have on my face right now. Then after that, what I like to do is take a facial spray. For today, I'm going to be using this Cordelier grape water. So I just like to really spray my face with this. And once once again, this just helps hydrate the skin, so I just tap that into the skin. Another spray that I do like to use is the MAC Prep and Prime Charged Water. I love that spray as well. So once I've done that, I then go into my primer. Now for primer, I'm going to be using this one for today. This is the No Problem Prime Essence. This is a very liquidy primer and it is quite hydrating, so I suggest this to people with dry skin. So I just put a few drops on my face like so. You can see how liquidy it is, and then I just rub that into the face. Already you can see just how glowy it made the skin look, which is amazing. Now usually after this I would go in with a dewy foundation. You guys know how much I love my dewy foundations, and one of my favorite, if not my favorite foundation of all time, is the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk foundation. And I would go into this, but I want to show you guys other tips, because I mean, you may not have a dewy foundation in your kit, you know, maybe you've got oily skin and so you only buy matte foundations, but one day you just feel like you want a dewy look. So I'm here to show you what you can do to achieve a dewy look with the matte foundations that you have, because let's face it, not everybody has a million foundations like I do, so you want to work with what you've got. So in this particular video I am going to show you how to work with a matte foundation, but otherwise on a normal day I would just go in with the dewy foundation, which is pretty straightforward. So I'm going to be using the MAC Studio Fix Fluid in the shade NC44. Now because I primed my skin with a dewy primer, this will also help the foundation not be completely matte, but also just to make sure that the foundation is not super matte. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pour a little bit on the top of my hand here, and then depending on what you've got in your kit, you can use either a facial oil or a moisturizer, and I would prefer using the strobe cream, something with a bit more glow to it, and just mix that in with your foundation. So I'm just going to take a drop of this oil, and then I'll also take my moisturizer. You don't need to use both, you can use either or. Whatever you've got in your kit, again, use what you have, and this will just help sheer out the foundation as well as give it a bit of glow to it. So as you can see, that's what I have there. So I just mix it all in. Then once you have that mixed, just put a few drops of that all over your face. And then to blend it all out, this is very important, you want to use a sponge. You can also use a brush, but I feel like for more glowy, dewy, fresh looks, you want to use a sponge. That's just because it kind of takes away a lot of the, I don't know how to say it, but like the cakiness from it, especially when wet. Don't use your sponge dry. So you just want to blend that out. This foundation tends to be a very full coverage foundation, but right now it's not completely full coverage on the skin, which is good. You don't want full coverage for a fresh dewy look. You want something that looks a lot more like your skin and just looks healthy, you know, something like this kind of finish. This is beautiful. So as you can see, also the foundation is not matte at all on the skin. It has quite a bit of glow to it. When I move my face, you can see the shine, which is exactly what we want. And I mean, if you ever want more coverage, then you've always got the foundation on the back of your hand. So just go in with a bit with your sponge and just go over the areas where you do want a bit more coverage. So next is concealer. I'm just going to rush through this. I don't really have a tip for concealer. I mean, just put it in the areas that you would usually put it. I put it in the areas where I'd like to highlight and to cover my dark circles, obviously. So I'm just going to put it below my eyes and on the high points of my face, like my T-zone right here, my cupid's bow, and that. And I'm using the Too Faced Born This Way multi-use concealer. This is amazing. You also don't want to use a concealer that's super matte, so using something like this, which is more on the satin dewy side, is amazing. So I'm just going to blend that out with my sponge. Okay, so once you're done, now it's time to set. Now I personally like to set my foundation and concealer in place. Some people don't when they want a glowy look, but for me, I prefer to have the longevity of it, and I will show you guys how to bring back the dewiness into your skin once I'm done with this. But I do like to set my face just so that the concealer and foundation do move around during the day. So I like to use 2 different powders. So I use a powder with a bit of color to it, like this ColourPop translucent powder. It has a bit of a beige tint to it, just to set the highlighted areas of my face and give it slightly more coverage. Now, this is the point where I want to really stress on. Don't bake your face. Oh my god, I hate baking my face. I feel like when you bake your face, it just completely draws out all the moisture from your face and just makes you look completely cakey. I don't know, I'm not a fan of it. So if you want a glowy, more hydrated look, then you want to use a tapered brush to set your concealer and foundation in place. So to start off, I'm going to set my eyes. Now I want to just blend this out first because my eyes tend to crease quite a bit. And then I just dip into the powder, remove the excess. You don't want to use too much powder, and then just lightly set it. And trust me, that's enough. And then now moving to the under eye, just going to blend out any creases I may have first. And then once again with the same small brush, I just lightly set the under eye like so. With the minimal amount of powder, you don't need a lot, honestly. And then I also bring it down slightly here just to create a little triangle of the highlighted area. And then with the same brush, I go in with the same powder and go into the areas where I highlighted with the concealer. So that's down my nose, up on my forehead, on my cupid's bow, and down on my chin, and that's it. Then I use a translucent powder. This is the RCMA powder. I've just put it in another container because that container for the RCMA powder is so bad. So I just take a slightly bigger version of the same brush, as you can see. Like, it's also a bit more tapered and it's very fluffy and flexible. So I just take the powder on that brush, tap off a lot of the excess, and then just tap it on the rest of my face to set the foundation. And you don't need a lot. Once again, don't use a lot of powder. I promise you, this is enough to keep your foundation in place all day. If you've got oily skin, then maybe you want to set it with slightly more powder, but I still don't suggest baking. I don't know, I'm just really against baking, okay? And done. Okay, so I just went off camera and bronzed my face. I used the Anastasia Beverly Hills bronzer. I didn't feel like that was too important for this tutorial, so that's why I did it off camera. But now I want to talk about blush. Now for blush, you can go with several options. This is up to you, by the way. This is all about personal preference. You can use any blush you want, but for me, I feel like this is what works for me and also really helps in terms of making my face look super glowy. I use the MAC Extra Dimension Finish blushes. These are such beautiful blushes. You can see I've used and abused this blush. I use this so much and you can clearly see when I move it, like it has a sheen to it. This is a very sheeny, very glowy blush. Now I know some people don't like that, and I understand. Like I'm sure a lot of people don't want to emphasize texture on their cheeks, so I understand if you don't want to use this, but I suggest using this. And this really helps in terms of bringing back the glow to the face, because obviously when you put powder on the face, it does make you look a bit more matte. So I'm just going to take some on my brush and just put that all over my cheeks. And you can see as I move my face, this blush definitely gives off a sheen, and it even gives a bit of a highlight to the cheek, because I like to bring my blush all the way to the back. So you can see there's definitely a sheen that this blush gives compared to this other side, which is slightly more matte compared to this side. You see the difference, right? Like, I freaking love these blushes so much. You cannot pry them away from me. The amount of glow they give, oh, so beautiful. And then I just take a little bit on the tip of my nose, and that's it. The next for highlight, I'm going to be using one of my favorite highlighters on the entire planet. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Amrezy highlight. I mean, do I need to say anything? So for highlight, this is a big tip that I'm going to give. You want to use a really fluffy highlight brush, just so that it doesn't give a stripe on the face of metallic sheen. Like, you can see how flexible this brush is, right? It's very fluffy, very flexible. you want a brush like this, like not even a fan brush, not those really tiny brushes that look like big eyeshadows. No, you want something this fluffy, at least in my opinion. This just helps give such a beautiful airbrushed glow to the skin. Like, let me just show you what I'm talking about, okay? I'm just going to take my brush in there. I'm going to really coat that, okay? But somehow, no matter how much highlight you load on this brush, it just gives the most beautiful, like, soft glow to the skin. It doesn't give like a strip of metallic sheen. I hate that look so much, but this just gives a soft focused glow to the face. Like, you see what I'm talking about? Like, look at the difference between this side and this side. Do you guys see what I'm talking about? It just softly gives you a beautiful glow, and it looks like it's a part of your skin. That's what I love about this brush. When I discovered this brush, oh, everything changed for me. This is a Moda brush. I'm going to have the details on the screen. I know it came in a duo. I got it in a subscription box, but I am going to put it on the screen, and I'll also link it down in the description box below in case you're interested in getting it. But yeah, I just go ham, okay? Like, I put my highlighter all over. I even bring it down my nose and then right down here. Like, you can see how glowy it made my face look. You guys see it, right? Like, we're going through this together, right? And then the other thing I do is just take a bit of this and then just put it all over my eyes. I mean, this is more for my everyday. If it wasn't my everyday, then I would have done like an elaborate eyeshadow look. But for everyday, this just works. And then the next tip that I highly recommend, because my skin, you can still see a bit of the powderiness. Like, it's not completely powdery, that's the thing. Like, it's not like if someone baked. Like, my skin actually looks healthy and glowy. And the thing is, if you're oily skinned, you can leave it at this. Don't go any further. That's fine. At this point, just do your brows, your mascara, and go. Because I know throughout the day your skin will produce oils, and just kind of blend this in with your skin. But if you've got dry skin like me, then this step is really vital, because the longer the day goes on, the drier your skin will get. So to avoid that, you want to set it with a dewy setting spray. I'm going to be using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dewy set, but you don't need to use this. Another spray that I absolutely love and cannot live without is the MAC Fix Plus. That's actually the one I use every day, but I just wanted to show you guys for good measure that you can just use any dewy setting spray for this. So I'll be using this one for today. And you want to overload your face like I did. So I'm just going to wait until this dries. I'll be doing my brows as I wait for this to dry, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I also decided to do my mascara off camera, but you can see once the setting spray dried off, it just makes the skin look like skin, and it removes any powderiness from your face and brings back that glow, that healthy dew to the skin. I just love setting my spray with the dewy setting spray. You can see it for yourself. Like, do I need to say anything? It looks beautiful. So then, last but not least, the last step to any dewy look is a glowy lip as well. So I'm just going to go in with this MAC nude lipstick in the shade Persistence. This is one of my favorite nude lip shades. And then for gloss, I'll be going with my favorite gloss of all time, the Fenty Beauty Gloss Bomb in the shade Fenty Glow. And that's literally it, guys. That is how I achieve my glowy, fresh, dewy skin. And if you just follow these steps, then you can achieve this as well. And for me, I feel like this lasts all day so long as you set it. One thing that I can suggest is, if you have dry skin like myself, then maybe also have like a little travel size version of a dewy setting spray, so that during the day as your skin is getting drier, you can just spritz a bit, and I swear to God, it just revives itself and comes back to this in an instant. So yeah, that's it, guys. It's pretty simple. Let me know if you guys would recreate this. I feel like it looks beautiful, and it definitely looks a lot more like your skin rather than you're wearing a heavy amount of makeup, even though yes, we are wearing a lot of makeup, and it doesn't look cakey in any way. Like, even in person, like, this actually looks good. So yeah, guys, that's it. Let me know what you guys would like to see next, and let me know if this was also a helpful video to you guys down in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then please do so by hitting the subscribe button down below, and also hit that notification bell right next to it. I would really appreciate it. You guys know I don't upload that much, so you want to maybe hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any videos that I upload in the future. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. watching this video. I hope to see you in the next one, and don't forget, Dida loves you. So if you want to check that out, I will also link it in the description. I will also link it in the description box. This is amazing. You also want to use a you also don't want the Fenty Beauty lip gloss. Favorite gloss of bloody hell. Are you done now?